Hey guys, I'm Jacinta Robinson and welcome to the Fearlss podcast, where I interview incredible athletes or specialists in the area of health. In the last 5 years, today's guest has presented to over 600,000 people, from corporate workers to juvenile detention centres, elite athletes, and through numerous charities, he has given hope and strength to many people facing life-threatening illnesses. He has spent nearly a quarter of his life in hospital, where he was told as a young child that he'd only have 4% chance of living. Although the chances of survival were small, this gave him the determination to accomplish greatness in his life. He was highly successful in the corporate world, represented Australia in his chosen sport, and featured across all forms of media. He also runs a school and orphanage in Haiti and has been presented with the Australian Day Ambassador role for 8 years consecutively. The award-winning documentary on his life by the ABC's Australian Story has been viewed by over 4 million people, and in 2016 he released his first tell-all autobiography, which is now the bestseller across 6 different countries. He has shared the stage with the likes of Sir Richard Branson, the Dalai Lama, and Tony Robbins. And if that isn't enough, his latest video of him speaking in LA has been viewed by more than 60 million people. Despite of all these amazing accomplishments, this man will touch your heart with his inspiring story. And I'm really excited to share it with you. I'd like to welcome Michael Crossland. So, welcome to the podcast, Michael.
It's great to be here. Thanks for the opportunity to share a little of myself with your beautiful community.
Oh, thank you so much. Now, currently you're not traveling around the world, but I know that you do travel around the world as an inspirational speaker, and you've written this amazing book, which the title is Kids Don't Get Cancer, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But just to get a little bit started so people can understand where you're from and how you got into inspirational speaking, can you start from the start?
Yeah, it's been a crazy world. Last year, 180 flights. I spoke in 22 countries, got a chance to share the stage with the Dalai Lama and Tony Robbins, Richard Branson. And I'm just a very, very humble, ordinary old Australian, no pro athlete, no famous actor, no superstar, certainly not a hero. Just an ordinary old Aussie that's faced my fair share of adversities, and now I'm very, very privileged to travel the world and share with people. I was diagnosed at the age of 11 months with an incurable cancer of the central nervous system called neuroblastoma stage 4. The doctors said no chance of survival. Take your little boy home and allow him to live the next few months with his family. But fortunately enough, my mum chose to ask one question, and that was, I don't want to know what the chances are of my son dying. I just want to know what the chances are of my son surviving. The doctor said I had a 96% death rate just to go home. And I'm sure that everybody listening, we've all had those challenges that we face in our life every day, where we look at the glass being half empty as opposed to half full. And I'm just so grateful every single day that my mum chose to look at my life not being 96% empty, but she chose to look at my life being 4% full. I started chemo on my first birthday. My chemo cycle was 9 days on, 3 days off for many years. Unfortunately, after 2 years of treatment, the drug was no longer doing the job. The tumor had built a resistance. It took over half of my body, but grew up into my aorta and my spine. It was crushing my heart. So I had to go into surgery. I had surgery, and they came out after 6 hours and said to my mum, "We're sorry, we didn't get it all, and there's now nothing that we can do." But the very next day, an American doctor came in. He was trialing an experimental drug on 25 patients around the world. He had 24 candidates. We all had to be terminally ill, and he asked my mum whether we wanted to be number 25. And I really believe that outside of love, hope is one of the most powerful words in the English dictionary. If you can instill hope into somebody's life, you can instill courage, determination. It's amazing what you can achieve with just a little bit of hope. So we started that drug at 9 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Within 24 hours, we were all transferred from the oncology ward to the burns unit. The after effects of the drug was so bad that we were completely covered from head to toe in blisters. What they would do is they would actually wrap us up in bandages, and they would lie us in baths full of ice, trying to prevent our brains from frying. But a long story short, unfortunately, out of the 25 of us that were on that drug, within a very short period of time, 24 of them had passed away. I was the only survivor, and I say to people all around the world that I'm one of the lucky ones, but I never say I'm one of the lucky ones because I'm still alive. I say I'm one of the lucky ones because it wasn't my mum. My mum had to go to death counselling once a week for 2 hours to deal with what was going to happen to a little boy. She had to inject a drug into a child that's killed every single person ever taken. So, you know, I have of recent times begun to realize that it is far easier to lie in the bed than stand next to it. But she taught me some really valuable lessons when I was a little boy in hospital. The first thing she taught me was it's not the adversity in our life that defines us, it's how we deal with it. As you know, we all have pain, we all have suffering, we all have challenges, but it's not our pain and suffering that is so different, it's our solutions. And it was about me really trying to, as a young boy, identify what my solution was. What was the tool that was going to enable me to be able to push through this horrible, horrific time in my life? And for me as a young boy, it was all about having a dream. My mum said to me one day, "What's your dream?" I said, "One day I want to grow up and I just want to be normal like everybody else. I want to go to school. I want to play sport. I just want to enjoy the simple things that people take for granted." And my mum said, "That dream's not big enough, because if you don't stretch yourself, if you don't challenge yourself, you're never going to become the best version of yourself." So the next day she came in and said, "What's your big dream?" And I said, "Not only do I want to be normal like everybody else, but one day I want to play baseball in America." And I remember she's like, "I kind of enjoyed your first dream a lot more than your second dream. Was a lot more realistic." But she believed in me. And, you know, I think so often in this world that we live in, we just strive for somebody to believe in us. We strive for a partner, a mother, a father, a friend, a colleague, somebody to believe in us. But I've begun to realize that it is just so important that that person that stares back at us every day we brush our teeth, if that person believes in us, then it is truly remarkable what we can achieve. And yeah, I had a lot of challenges along the way, as you know. Yeah. I went to school. My time at school was really tough. I got picked on every day. But I realized that your value doesn't decrease based on one's inability to see your worth. It's about valuing yourself. I had my first heart attack when I was 12. I became a depressed little boy. I was told that I'd never be able to play sport again. And my mum come through the curtains and I made out I didn't hear what the doctor said. I said, "What did the doctor say?" She said, "Oh, the doctors told me that everything was going to be okay." And at such a young age, I realized no one is ever going to tell us what we can do. They'll only tell us what we can't do. And 2 years after being told I'd never be able to play sport again, I made the under-16 Australian Expos team. I got a chance to fly to America and achieve my dreams. I moved over there when I was 17 to play college ball. I got a chance to play in 20,000-seat arenas. And it was just a remarkable journey, an incredible life. And as you know, life is like a roller coaster. We can get to a pinnacle point in our life and it can get taken away from us very quickly. And that's what happened to me. I was only over there for less than 6 months. I slid into a base in Arizona. I woke up 3 days later. My heart couldn't compete. My health had deteriorated and my career was over. And I'm sure we'll delve into it more, but I came back. I did a TV show on Australian Stories. I got into the corporate sector. I climbed the corporate ladder very, very quickly. I had 600 staff when I was 23. And then again, my health deteriorated. 2009, bacterial meningitis. 2010, Bell's palsy down the right-hand side of my body. And I just quit. I gave up on life and I didn't want to fight anymore. And in those really dark times, I realized all I needed to do is master two things and my whole world had changed. And those two things was I needed to master what success was and I needed to master the gift of giving. And success now I understand is not about the materialistic possessions that we gain in life, but it's about how big our heart is with the determination behind it in serving other people. Yeah. And the giving piece, I thought for a long time it was the more you give, the more you shall receive. But now I realize that it's about the more you give expecting nothing in return, the more you shall receive. And it's about giving without remembering and receiving without forgetting. And that's when I decided to go overseas. I opened an orphanage and a school. We got 270 kids at our school, 40 kids that live in our orphanage, which I'm sure we'll delve into a lot. But just to give you a full capture of the story. And then 2016, as you know, I got really sick again. They found 4 more tumors in my throat. They told me that I wouldn't make Christmas. And my beautiful mum rang me on my way out of that the tests. And she said to me, "What did the doctor say?" And after all those years, I got a chance to return the favor. And I told her that everything was going to be okay. And there's been lots of little hiccups and challenges through until now, but I'm incredibly grateful for the life that I get to live. I know that when my life is up, my tank is going to be on empty. There's going to be nothing left in the reserve. And I'm just truly grateful to serve other people and hopefully make a positive impact in just one person's life every single day that I am blessed to wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
There you go. There it is in a snapshot.
It's such a powerful story, and it sounds unfortunate, but also it's a blessing because of the power that you can have the impact on people's lives. And I'd love to know, if we go back to like your mum, Michael, like how did she know? Have you ever had a conversation with her? Like, how did she know to say to you that everything was going to be okay? Like, obviously, she's been brought up in a world to see the opportunity as well. Do you know if she's like where that came from? Or do you think that's
faith,
come...
I think faith is such a powerful thing. And, you know, I recently did a blog about the importance of faith. And it doesn't necessarily mean the faith in God, the faith in Buddha, the faith in Allah, whatever it might be. It's just simply having faith. And, you know, we have strong faith. We have faith in God. And I think that when you truly believe in your heart that everything's going to be okay, then it's like the chemicals in your body shift and change. The endorphins are released. The belief happens. And now all of a sudden you can achieve some remarkable things. And, you know, I see it every day with exercise and the importance of exercise, the importance of moving and getting out of bed. You know, I talk about the 3 steps to shifting our mindset, and that's moving, sharing, and helping. And that first point is so important, you know, and that's one thing that she instilled in me at such a young age. You know, when you truly believe in yourself, when you truly have faith and you really believe in your heart. You know, I heard the doctors. You know, I heard the doctors when I was a little boy before my heart attack, when I think I was 5, and the doctor said, your son's never going to go to school. He's never going to play sport. He'll be a housebound baby. And if he reaches his teenage years, it'll be a miracle. And my mum come through the curtains. I said, what did the doctor say? She said, everything's going to be okay. You know, and when I really truly believed that, then that's when we started to push through some pretty serious obstacles and challenges. And I think that we all have that. You know, we all can have a pity party. We can all think that our life's not fair, but all we really need to do is turn the TV on. And I think when we step out of our own shoes and look at life through somebody else's eyes, then that's when we start to truly live and start to really main roads in when so I saw a boy that had no feet.
Oh, I think we just lost you. Oh,
I'm back.
We're back. What was that last part that you just said? When you truly...
I really believe that saying, I cried when I didn't get a new pair of shoes until I saw a boy that had no feet. You know, sometimes when we compare our adversities and challenges to other people, we quickly begin to realize how lucky we are to have what we have. And that's when that belief and that faith can come in to overcome those obstacles that we are all facing every day.
So let's just say, like, for someone listening and they're like, oh, they don't believe in themselves, whatever it may be, whether it's a fitness challenge or a new job opportunity. Are you saying that they should have a look outside at everyone else's challenges and then realize that what they've got inside isn't that big of a challenge and you can move forward? Or like, how do you stand in front of the mirror and truly believe in something? I find that quite interesting, like what you're saying, because like when your mum told you, how did you, and you already heard what the doctors were saying, how did you change the perception to believe? Because you were so young, right? You were so young. So it's not like you could look at other people's situations during that time.
Well, I certainly did, because I saw doctors zipping up body bags every single day that were being injected with the same drug as I was.
Okay. So how do you change your belief then? If you can see this in front of your eyes?
I think that it's really important for us to understand that the alternative can suck real bad. And if we want to live our life thinking that our life is not fair, then I guarantee you your life is not fair.
Yeah.
But when you start to have little baby steps, little shifts, little behavioral pattern changes can have such a profound impact on our life. And our bodies, our minds, our brains, they don't like discomfort. They just want to be, they just want their life to be easy. But the only way we can grow as a human being is to become uncomfortable. So I think it's really important that we get out of bed and we get uncomfortable, because that's when we start to get momentum shifting and we start to get a belief system within ourselves. And I think, we might want to dive into it now. Like, my daily routine is so critical, because if I shift and I skip my daily routine, then all of a sudden my mindset changes, my belief systems change, and now all of a sudden my outcome stinks and I don't get the outcome that I truly want. And that's why my 3 steps every single day and my routine is activation, meditation, appreciation. I need to make sure that I do that every day. And some people want to get active and get healthy and get fit because they want to look good in a bikini. They want to get fit and healthy because they want abs and they want to look jacked down the beach. I do it because I need to stay alive.
Yeah.
And I want to stay alive and I want to serve more people. And I don't want to just leave a legacy. I want to live into a legacy. So my first step is activation. I go for a run. And some people can't run. Well, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, do something, just keep moving. Push-ups, star jumps, sit-ups, anything you can do to get the endorphins flowing, get the heart rate flowing. That for me is the most important part. Get out of bed and get moving. The second part is meditation. For me, for a long time, I thought that the only people that meditated was people that had long beards, that wore cotton, that burned incense and wore no shoes. I just thought hippies meditated. That was it. But as you know, I've been lucky enough to work with pro athletes earning $40 million a year. I've been able to hang around and spend time and invest time in some of the top 100 CEOs on the planet. I'm very fortunate to deal with some of these elite people. And that's the one thing they all have in common. They all meditate. They understand the power of it. They understand the importance of it. I think, let's just use an analogy of, we have 100,000 thoughts a day. I'm just using this as an analogy. I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are. But let's say our thoughts are 100,000 thoughts a day. And 70% of our thoughts every day are negative. So we've got 70,000 thoughts every single day that are negative. 30,000 are positive. So when we meditate, we start to slow down our thought process. So now all of a sudden, rather than having 100,000, let's say we get down to 80,000. So now we've just reduced 14,000 thoughts per day that are negative. And then if we start to meditate and we start to focus on the things that we truly appreciate, now all of a sudden our mindset and our thoughts are starting to be a lot more optimistic and a lot more resilient and a lot more positive. So now all of a sudden our ratio for positive versus negative thoughts are significantly starting to shift. So now we start to get this momentum of positivity that starts to happen. And yes, there's crap that's going on in the world. All we gotta do is turn the TV on and listen to the radio. I just make the choice not to dive into it. I don't choose to eat the medicine, because I know that if we eat the medicine, we're going to get sick, or the poison, I should say, we're going to get sick. So I just make the choice to avoid it. So that's the second one, is meditation. For a long time, I thought that if I went to bed at nighttime, that was going to recharge my batteries. But if I turn my phone off at the nighttime and I turn it back on in the morning, has it recharged? No, it hasn't recharged. It's just existing. It's still working, but it hasn't recharged. And that's what we do. And in my opinion, we go to bed at nighttime and we go to sleep and we wake up in the morning. Okay, now we can exist. We're still existing because we went to sleep last night, but we're not thriving. We're not achieving greatness. And I think for me, meditation is my recharge. So that's my second step. And the third one is appreciation. So it's activation, meditation, appreciation. And I write down every morning 3 things that I'm truly grateful for. And before I go to bed at nighttime, same deal. I write down 3 things that I'm truly grateful for. That means that during the day, I'm constantly focused and reflecting on the 3 things that I'm grateful for every morning. And then when I go to bed at nighttime, what a beautiful way to go to sleep after making sure I've had no TV for an hour before bed, is I write down my 3 things that I'm grateful for. Now I go off to sleep thinking about the 3 things that I'm grateful for. So now all of a sudden these little things start to change. The triggers start to change. Your habits start to change. Your mindset starts to change. And now you're thinking, well, I don't believe in myself. Well, start doing something that's going to help shift that belief system and enable you to start to believe in yourself so you can overcome some challenges. It's so easy to sit back and say, no, it's too hard. That's why there's not millions of people on the mountaintop. They're all down the bottom wondering how the hell they got up there.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. Like it's just that the momentum, it's creating that and having with the movement, it's starting with some small goals that you can move towards. And then yeah, I love like the meditation you're giving back to your body. Like it's not exerting anything, you're giving back. And being in a state of gratitude, I really believe has a chemical change in your body. Like I do it too at night. I don't do it in the morning, I just at night. And I think reflecting on your day and seeing, like, even if you feel charged or feel a bit like, oh, that was unfair or whatever happened, when you write down what you're grateful for, you're like, holy hell, my issues are really nothing, and I'm wasting so much energy thinking about something that's so minor when I have these amazing things happening. And then I think what happens,
and all of a sudden you start to identify, right? Your senses start to heighten, and you start to see little things like, oh my God, I got all the green lights on the way home today. Yeah. Oh my God, I got to park right out the front of where I need to park. You know, you just, things start to change, and you can't understand it. You know, that whole subconscious mind is remarkable, and that's an amazing conversation to have, because the subconscious mind is phenomenal. And when we can start to positively impact our subconscious mind, like the words we speak are the actions that we take. So when we start to say, you know, our life is not fair and things are, you know, stressful, you know, I love that word stressful. If we can just change the word from stressful to character building, now all of a sudden our mindset changes, all because we've changed the word from stressful to character building, because it registers differently on a subconscious level. So anyway, that's my thought there. It's really important when we start to, as you said, little baby steps. When we start to get momentum, it's incredible. The tidal wave just comes with you with that momentum.
And yeah, like what you said about the word, like identifying, it's you've identified, say, stressful as a bad thing. So, and that's just from society or what you've been around. So if you can change the word, then hell's yeah, why not? Like we all want to live a phenomenal life. So why not do that?
And I think in your industry, you know, in that health and fitness, there's a lot of people that want to look good, right? Hopefully we're starting to shift away from focusing on what we look like and really focus on how we feel. Because when we start to feel good, it doesn't really matter, because we love ourselves and we value ourselves. And I know that you listen to Dr. John Demartini, and he talks about when you invest in yourself, the world invests in you. When you value yourself, the world values you. And most importantly, when you start to love you, then the world starts to love you as well. We just need to continue the momentum and continue the investment every single day. I love the story about the bamboo. There's a type of bamboo that takes 5 years. Like you plant it and you water it every single day for 5 years before it eventually breaks through the soil. 5 years. Wow. But once it breaks through the soil, it grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. So they say it's one of the fastest growing plants in the world because it grows 90 feet in 6 weeks. My thought on that is it doesn't take 90 feet to grow. It doesn't take 6 weeks to grow 90 feet. It takes 5 years and 6 weeks. But it also takes nurturing every single day for 5 years. If I stop watering that seed after 4 years and 360 days, then the seed dies. Yeah. And that's what happens with us. The analogy, I love it. You know, we need to invest constantly. And yes, we're still under the ground. And yes, we're still in the darkness. And yes, we're still in pain. And yes, we're striving to get to that point where we can finally poke our heads up and start to see the light and feel the warmth of the sunshine. And that's what happens. As soon as we just continually knock on the door, pick up the phone, get up and go for our morning runs, get into our daily routine, get our habits right, then all of a sudden you poke your head up and you're ready. And you have exponential growth. And that's, people say to me, oh, you're an overnight success. You know, all of a sudden you've had videos. A video just last week hit 10 million views. Another video 2 weeks ago cracked 60 million views. You know, I've been doing this for 9 years speaking. You know, the first 5 or 6 years I was knocking on schools asking to try and speak to kids, and people were saying, no, we don't want to hear what you have to say. I knocked on hundreds and hundreds of agencies around the world saying, hey, I've got a story to tell. And 99% of them said no. And the 1% that listened told me I didn't have a marketable story. And now all of a sudden they're trying to sign me, which is amazing. It makes you feel great. But it's about constantly believing in yourself, constantly getting up when the world's telling you to stay down, because one day you will have that opportunity to shine. And if you're ready and you've been evolving and crafting your skills and investing in yourself for such a long period of time, now all of a sudden you can take that rocket to the moon. It's amazing.
But I think you have to have that like down, up, down, up, down, up throughout a period of time to give you enough belief in yourself and momentum to have the skills to propel forward. I feel like if you just got there like straight away, you wouldn't appreciate it as much, or wouldn't have as good of a story to tell, I reckon.
100% agree with you. And that's why the old saying is you learn far more from a loss than you ever do from a win. You know,
Yes.
you need to lose, you need to grow, you need to fall over. You know, the old analogy, if you keep carrying your child, they'll never learn to walk. You need to let them fall over as often as they can, because the more times they fall over, the more they make the adjustment and learn from that to be able to start not only to walk, but to be able to run. And that's what, you know, us adults, we need to do too. We need to fall over, skin our knees, take some risks, some educated risks to be able to grow and stretch ourselves so we can achieve greatness in whatever we choose to strive for.
Yeah. And I think like that's such a, like, we all know this, right? But it's actually doing it. The like the scary part, taking that risk, taking that jump. I feel like, yeah, that's why I think it's really super important to create the momentum, create those small goals. And then you'll just start doing it without you realizing, moving towards that. So like, Michael, let's like with mindset, like say, like when you were saying like movement is the first thing, and a lot of people like, oh, they're laying in bed and they're like, they just can't get up, or they just can't start that routine. What's a tip that you could give the audience of how they can overcome maybe that fear that they hold inside their head, or that story they're playing back in their head saying like you're not good enough, or whatever it is, that something that could be really super simple for someone just to flick and try and implement into their life to change their mind?
I think it's really important, firstly, that we start talking to ourselves and stop listening to ourselves.
Okay.
And you need to let that register, because I think it's really important, right?
Yeah.
You know, we have so many thoughts going through our head, and a majority of them, 70% of them, are negative. And if we continually listen to that negative voice in our mind, then we will convince ourselves that it's okay to stay in bed. The tip that I use, and you know, I think it's not so much common knowledge, but I think once we delve into this space, we start to hear of it a lot more, and it's called the NASA principle. So basically, your brain has less than 5 seconds, around 5 seconds, to convince yourself not to do something that is going to cause you discomfort. For example, you're lying in bed, the alarm goes off, you've got 5 seconds to get out of bed before your brain convinces you to roll over, pull the doona over your head, cuddle your pillow, and go back to sleep.
Wow.
So we've got 5 seconds. So the NASA principle talks about the importance of any single time, situation, or a circumstance in your life that's going to cause you discomfort. So for me, every morning, my alarm goes off. Now it doesn't. I just wake up at the same time, which is weird because 21 days in a row forms a habit. So now it's not a decision to make. It just automatically happens. And now I go, you know what? I looked out this morning and it was a little rainy and a little windy. And I thought, oh, geez, I could just cuddle into my wife. This would be a beautiful little sleep-in morning. Or Sunday mornings, I love that. People say, oh, it's Sunday, I'm going to sleep in. It's a day. It's a day for you to grow and become a better version of yourself. So there's no such thing as a Sunday sleep-in. So my analogy this morning, woke up this morning, saw it rain outside. As soon as I said 5, I thought, oh, shit, here we go. I'm going to have to get out of bed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, lift off, and I got out of bed. I went for a run because I was up. May as well go. Now I'm awake. Then I got home feeling amazing, so much energy, cold outside, warm inside, get into the shower, having this beautiful hot shower. And I know that if I can reduce the hot and get it as cold as I can to get that, whoa, adrenaline goosebump feeling, I'm going to have an even more productive day today. Yeah. So I'm like, nah, this is so nice and warm. I've got 5 seconds to convince myself to turn it off before I will not turn the hot off.
Yeah.
So as soon as I say 5, oh, crap. 4, 3, 2, 1, bang. Turn the hot off, freezing cold. Get out of the shower, dry myself off. My skin feels amazing because I'm ready and I'm alive, you know. And then I'm lying on the couch the other night, and during my meditation, I always tell myself, what's my intention? Like I ask myself, what's my intention for the day? How do I want to show up? How do I want to be seen? And my intention for that day was to be really supportive. of my wife. I just really wanted to show her the support, the kindness, the compassion, the love that she really deserves. So I'm lying on the couch, really comfortable. And I knew the dishes needed to be done. I knew it, but every part of me was like, man, it's comfy. I got this big white couch, looking at the TV. Finally, the football was on. I was like, happy days. This is living the dream. And I was like, I really need to get those dishes done. So I pulled the blanket up and I went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I got up. Now I don't even think about it. I don't even need to think about it.
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1 just kicks in automatically without me even trying to tell myself to make it register. So everything that's causing me discomfort now, that's actually going to enable me to be a better person and grow, just starts automatically with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I get up and get it done. So that's my little tip. I love it. It's a cool little life hack, and it's helped me out so much in situations where I really don't want to have to delve into them.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I'm going to have to implement it, though. I do get up at 4:30 in the morning, so I don't need to get up any earlier.
No, you do not. Definitely not.
But I think I do love the shower trick, because I know that, like, sometimes I'm in the shower and the same thing. I'm like, oh, it's just so comfy. And then, yeah. So, Michael, tell us about what happened in 2016. It's only just over 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Tell us about what happened in that year, because you had some really good ups and some downs.
Yeah, so 2016, I started to really get great momentum in the speaking world. Started to get a lot of events globally. Financially, things started to get very comfortable, which was great, because it was a long slog for a long time. And in 2008, my mum and dad separated, and we invested her money right before the GFC hit, and we lost it all. So, am I back?
Yeah.
So we unfortunately we lost all the money. So we couldn't put her in a nice house. I had a lot of debt in Sydney, trying to make myself look bigger than what I was. So long story short, finally in 2016, I got a chance to put a pink ribbon on a brand new door to a new home for my mum, which was just one of the coolest days of my life, to see her with so much pride and happiness. And, you know, it was finally the first time in a long time that I was proud of the man that I'd become.
Yeah.
And I learned that day that it is far greater to give than to receive. But 4 weeks later, as mentioned earlier, I had some tests, and they found 4 tumors in my throat. I was a broken man. They told me to prepare my funeral. They told me to say goodbye to people, and I did. I did video message saying goodbye, and I was a lost young man for a period of time. And I realized that I needed to leave a legacy for my family. So I quickly finished my autobiography, which is now a bestseller in 6 countries around the world. We had planned to leave all the money from the book to my mum and my wife to make sure I could take care of them. But obviously I got through surgery. They removed 3 out of the 4 tumors. The 4th one's still in there, but it's a benign one. So things are looking really sweet there. And so I decided to donate all the money from my book to charity. So now we've donated literally hundreds of thousands of dollars from the sales of my book, and we've been able to really not only leave a legacy, but fortunately enough, I'm still here, so I get to live into it as well. And I learned a really valuable lesson through those really dark times. And one of them was the quality of one's life is not dictated, nor is it determined by the amount of days that we live on this earth, but it's about what we fit into those days that allows us to live a remarkable life.
Yeah.
And the second thing that I realized that I mastered through that dark period is, one, we need to embrace the coolness of the shadows so we can truly enjoy the warmth of the sunshine. But I realized my 3-step process to get through those dark periods when we are a victim and our world's not fair. And that's the 3 that I spoke about before. We must move every day. We must share how we feel with other people. You know, a challenge shared is a challenge halved. It's not a sign of weakness, but rather a sign of strength when we go and get help and we seek support from a professional. And then the last thing was about helping. That was the 3rd one. We need to help. We need to help those people that are less fortunate than what we are. When we help somebody that can never return the favor, that's when we really start to make an impact, and that's when we start to serve for the right reasons. It's not about ROI. It's not about the return on our investment with our time and our energy and our love for other people. It's just purely to make a positive impact on the world and hopefully leave it better than what we found it. So that was the whirlwind of 2016.
And then how did you, because when in those low times, and you've obviously experienced that before, how did you install that belief in yourself again? Was that through gratitude, or what were you doing?
Yeah, it was really back to my daily routine. It was really important that I planted that heavily in my seed, in my mind, to make sure I do that every single day. It was also really about gratitude. And I think that, as I said earlier, I hit rock bottom. And I think when we hit rock bottom, there's only one way to go. And I just made the choice not to stay there.
Yeah.
And I got clarity and understanding what the two things were that I needed to master. And to master those two things really changed my life. And hopefully have changed a lot of lives around the world at the same time, which has been a huge blessing.
Yeah. It's incredible. And you opened up an orphanage, like in the orphanage in Haiti. Tell us about what you've done there, because that is, I think, very inspiring.
Yeah, 2010 earthquake hit Haiti, killed 316,000 people, left 2.5 million people homeless. And it was just an eye-opening experience to go over there and see such poverty and pain and suffering. We opened up a school, firstly, for 120 little kids. Now we've got 270 kids that go there. And on the way back from rebuilding the school, we went past this little orphanage, and it broke my heart. And my wife and I were told we'd never be able to have kids. So it was really my idea, or my purpose, I thought, in my life, was to go and serve these kids. So I came back and we raised a whole heap of money. And now we have 40 of the most beautiful little kids that we look after 365 days a year. And they all get 3 meals a day. And there's this one kid, I don't mean to point anybody out, but there's this one boy, he lost his mum, dad, both his brothers in the earthquake. He lived on the streets for 4 months, eating food out of garbage bins. We took him in, and fast forward to 2020, he's graduated high school. He got a full ride scholarship to Brazil to study engineering, and he's just finished his second year of engineering. He's fallen into the Golden Keys category, which means that he's in the top 10% of university students from around the world. So he's one of the smartest kids on the planet. And I ask myself, ask everybody listening, what's your excuse? What's your excuse behind why you don't believe in yourself?
Yeah.
There's people in the world that have got every excuse under the sun to quit, and they keep fighting. So take that as a little motivation to never quit on yourself, never give up on yourself. Realize that you're here on this earth for a purpose and a reason. And when you start to live into that legacy, and when you find your purpose and you understand your why, it's truly, truly phenomenal, the life that you get to live.
Yeah, I think that is very inspiring. And Michael, though, people will say to you, how do you find your purpose, though? Like, how do we know what is our purpose? Like, I find that an interesting question. Is it something that is it a series of questions that you ask yourself, or is it something that you need a mentor to guide you through to find out exactly what you're doing? Like, I hear this a lot from people around the world that speak, and they talk about that when you live your purpose, you feel very fulfilled. But how do you know exactly what that is?
One thing that I really believe in is that our purpose continually evolves.
Yeah.
And I think people find that difficult to understand, but I really think it has. I think my purpose has evolved constantly. My purpose as a little boy was to play sport, play baseball, and hopefully inspire young kids that are really suffering to believe in themselves. Then my why was to grow rapidly through the corporate world to prove to myself that I could achieve some really great things.
Yeah.
And then my why was to somehow be on the other side of the world to support these kids that were really hurting and really suffering. And then it was about going out into the world to share that story with people. That was my purpose. And then in 2018, I
tell us your why now.
So we were told we'd never be able to have kids, as I said earlier, but in 2017, we announced to the world that we were going to have a little baby, and that was the greatest miracle. We were due to have a baby the end of February 2018, but on the 8th of December 2017, my wife had a lot of back pain. We went to hospital, found out she was 2 centimeters dilated. We got airlifted to Sydney Hospital, and 4 days later, at 6:40 p.m., we had a beautiful little boy named Lachlan James, who was who was 10 weeks premature, who weighed 2 pounds and was very, very, very unwell. He got put into intensive care unit level 3, where we couldn't hold him. We couldn't be parents. But every day he got stronger and stronger. And after 4 weeks, they told us that they were going to transfer him back to Crossland, which is our local hospital. And we got back here on instead of bringing our little boy home, he had to spend another 6 weeks in Coffs Hospital before we could bring him home. And then that night we received a phone call after everybody had left. It was the doctor telling us we needed to go into hospital. We raced in there. My wife went one way to be with our boy, and I went into a room with the doctor, and he told us that our boy had contracted an illness called sepsis, a blood disease. They told us that we probably had maybe 4 days with him. I walked out of the room and my wife said, "What did the doctor say?" And I finally got a chance to return the favor that my mum gave me as a little boy. And I told my wife that everything was going to be okay. And we were airlifted to Sydney Hospital. And I remember on the plane praying, "You can take my house, you can take my car, you can take everything I own, but please don't take my little boy." And then 4 days later, when he was meant to be dead, we captured his first little smile. And that was the day I knew that everything was going to be okay. And now he's a 2.5-year-old little boy. He shits more than we can imagine. He eats more than we can imagine. And I got to tell you, we love him more than we could ever imagine. And I'm just eternally grateful to have had the experience and the blessing. I got a chance to walk a few months in my mum's shoes. And I'm so grateful that I had such a courageous woman supporting me. And I hope that I can just live up to the standard that she had set as a parent for me to set for my little boy. And I just want him to be proud of his daddy.
Oh. Wiping back the tears over here. That is so touching, to I guess in a way to experience what your mum had gone through, and then you got to experience that, so therefore you had a whole new appreciation for what she has brought into your life.
That's right.
And how did you, obviously, because you would have spoken to your mum, how did your mum, because you would have had this profound, appreciation for her. How did she, when you would have told her, how did that reflect on your relationship? Do you feel like that's bonded you guys closer because you have opened up and told her that you've gone through that?
Yeah, I don't think I ever truly understood her pain.
Yeah.
And we can't possibly understand someone else's pain until we walk in their shoes.
Yeah.
I think my gratitude towards her grew even more. My love, my devotion, my admiration has just continually grown. And I'm so grateful that she taught me such wonderful things as a little boy, and still continues to teach me today. I put up a post yesterday, "We're never too old to learn, never too young to teach." And he teaches me so much every day, and she continues to teach me as well. So from one end to the other.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. And if you didn't have that gratitude, you wouldn't see that. I'm sure people have this in their life, but unless they're grateful.
And sadly, they wait until it's too late before they decide to change. They wait until they're diagnosed with lung cancer before they stop smoking. They wait until they lose someone that they love before they tell them that they love them. We mustn't wait. Now's the time. Now's the opportunity.
Absolutely. So, so touching, Michael. So tell us about, you've done all of this, incredible things. You mentioned earlier, you've been speaking on stage with, you've been with Richard Branson, Tony Robbins, Dalai Lama. How was that for an experience?
That guy, he doesn't walk, he glides. He is that smooth. It's unbelievable. And sometimes you need to yourself. You need to pinch yourself to realize that you're surrounding yourself with those types of people. And, I will make sure that I stay very, very humble and extremely grateful for those opportunities. And, I'm just incredibly fortunate to strive to serve other people, and I think that you surround yourself with really good people and you have some really good outcomes. And that old saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with. Yeah. That's my battery telling me I'm getting low, but you're the average of the 5 people you spend most time with. And we need to constantly reflect that. You hang around with scumbags, you're going to turn into one. So I just want to make sure I continually surround myself with good people, like-minded people like yourself who are passionate about making a positive impact on the world and leaving it better than what we found it.
Yeah. And so, and I totally agree. It's amazing. It's your body changes depending on what environment that you are around. And I'd love to know, Michael, because you've done these incredible things, you've created, you've got this orphanage that in Haiti that you're sponsoring, you said 40 kids, I think, with food, and you've got an incredible family, you're speaking around the world. What's next for you? What's your next massive goal that you because you believe in growing and stretching yourself? What's that next step for you? Have you thought about that?
My goal in life is to be the dad that my dad never was.
Yeah. And what makes you say that?
I think that so often we strive for people to look up to mimic their behavior. And I think that we can learn from bad behavior just as much as we can learn from good behavior. Yeah. So I want to be the dad that my dad never was. I want to be the husband that my dad never was. And I really just want to make sure that my son is very proud of the father that he has. I want to instill some really great values and visions in my son's life. And I want to be that dad that is at the soccer field every week, cooking the barbecues and hanging out at school and, just being able to provide an amazing life filled with gratitude into his heart and into his soul. And the way I do that is being able to get myself in a position where I can walk away from having to travel around the world. I don't want to be away 8 months a year. I don't want to be on 180 flights a year. It sounds great sitting up the front of a plane, staying in 5-star hotels, speaking at the MGM Grand in front of 20,000 people. It's from the outside looking in, it's incredible, but it can be tough, being away from your family for a long period of time. And I just need to be very strategic moving forward to ensure that I'm in a position that I can still be able to add value globally, but be able to spend more time with my family. So that is my absolute number one priority and my big goal, because I just want to be the best version of myself and have an impact on the people that I love the most.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, because I feel if you didn't put that into perspective, you would do all one way, and then you would resent it, and then you would feel like you feel like you want to do something but you can't. So I think it's fantastic that you can recognize that now and move forward towards that. And then also, of course, you've got your goal of being the incredible father that you are. But by the sounds of it, and I'm sure the listeners would agree with me, you already are that. I think saying that you want to have this, listening to you, man, I'm just you are that. It's incredible. It's just inspiring.
Thank you. That's very, very kind of you.
Oh, my pleasure. So I'd love to know, what's your advice for anybody out there that feels, let's go with the 5 top tips that people can apply today to make a change in their life.
Okay, 5 top tips. I wasn't prepped for this, so I appreciate you lobbing it on me. 5 tips. First thing is we need to make sure our daily routine's structured, and that is around the activation, meditation, appreciation. The second tip is every time you get down on yourself and you think your life's not fair, I think it's critical to make sure you take those 3 steps, which is moving, sharing, and helping. They're the first 2. Now, the next one is making sure when you're doing a podcast with someone really, really important that you make sure you have lots and lots of power on your iPhone. Because if you don't have power on your iPhone, you're going to get 90% of the way through the podcast and it's going to die on you. So that's the third tip. But now I've got plenty of power, so we're sorted. But the third tip, I really think that it's a game changer when we start to do our NASA principle 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's a big one. Another one is make sure we don't eat 2 hours before we go to sleep. I think that if we can give our bodies an opportunity to digest our food before we lay down, you know, I'm not thinking, and I'm sure you understand the science behind it with the whole where it sits and the fat and all that sort of stuff. I just think that to have a really powerful, positive night's sleep can really have a huge impact on us. So that's why I eat 2 hours. Make sure that I've finished eating 2 hours before bed. And the last one, number 5 for me, is about digital detoxing. You know, I think that we can digital detox when we can step away from what we perceive as the most important thing in the world, which is this phone, which is just insane. Then all of a sudden we can start to get a lot of peace in our mind and have a day without the phone. You know, I turned a couple of months back, I turned that app on that registers how many hours a day you use your phone.
Yes.
Oh my God. If you want a smack in the face, then go do that, because it changed everything. Because really, I thought, no, maybe an hour. But there's some days you're on your phone for 5 hours staring at your phone. Oh, but I'm working. I'm doing email. You're still on your phone, you know. If there's a way that you can get some of that time back, those hours in a day back, so you can invest in yourself, man, it can be so, so powerful. And we've got to stop complaining and thinking that, you know, that life is not fair. You know, I love that saying, they tried to bury me, but they didn't realize I was a seed.
Oh.
You know, you have that belief in yourself. You know, the whole world could try and knock you down and bury you or put you under the soil. But when you believe in yourself and you have that seed, all it's going to do is just help to be able to have you poke through that soil and grow 90 feet in 6 weeks. You know, someone said to me one day, geez, Mike, you have been dealt with some really shit cards. And I think that whilst ever I'm being dealt cards, that means I'm still in the game, right? And whilst ever I'm still in the game, it's about how I choose to play those cards that allows me to live a remarkable life. And I challenge all your listeners, you know, don't spend your life comparing your cards with other people. Be grateful that you still have cards. Be grateful that you're still in the game, and play those cards as effectively as what you can.
Absolutely.
There's my 5 tip extension.
I love it. I love it so much. And I think too, like what you're saying with the cards, like they're only coming to you because I reckon the universe has got a plan for you. So I feel like as big as your problem is will determine how much growth you'll have within your life. And I think that's fantastic that you've gone through all this. Like, I think it's beautiful. Like, the impact around globally that you're having is far greater than if you just had a few things that had happened to you. So I think it's definitely a blessing for you. You
can look at a pain or a challenge as why me, or you can look at it by saying, what's the learning? And the more that you can just delve down that thought process of what is the learning from this pain, then you just continually grow. And that's at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want to lie in bed, your final resting place, and go, you know what, I gave this life everything that I had, and I don't have any regrets. You know, I love one of the speeches that I heard recently from, I can't remember his name, but he talks about you're lying on your deathbed and you've got the ghosts of all your goals and dreams and visions around your bed, just staring at you, looking at you, saying, only you could have brought me to life. Oh. And we think about it now, you know, what goals, what dreams, what aspirations, what visions do you have in your life? All you need to do is just take time to breathe life into it, and it's amazing how your life can change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Michael, this book, on the inside, When I Met You Live, there's a signature and the number 24.
You met me live. That was good. That wasn't a hologram. You met me live. It was amazing. It was an amazing moment when I got to meet you live. Yeah.
So tell us about what this number means.
it's funny because some people like yourself ask me, is that the amount of books you've sold today? 24. But no. So when I made the Australian Expos baseball team, my jersey number was 24. When I played as a little boy, my jersey number was 24. And then a few years ago, fortunate enough, due to the impact that I have supposedly had on the game, they decided to retire my number, a part of our program. So no one now can ever use number 24, which is cool because it was inducted into the Hall of Fame, which makes me feel amazing. But the reason why I've always been number 24 is because I've had an advantage over every single player that had ever played the game, because many of those kids that ran out and adults to go out and play on the field, they go out there by themselves. But I went out there with the 24 little kids that were on that trial drug that sadly passed away, who didn't get a chance to run out on that field. You know, I play for their legacy. I play for their families. I play for the mums and dads and the brothers and the sisters that lost someone that they love so much. And that's why that number is so special. And that's why every single book that I've ever sold in my entire life has my signature with hashtag number 24, because it's in memory of those beautiful kids that gave me a chance at leading a life where I could positively impact the world.
Wow. And so if someone would like to purchase your book and read your story, how do we, like, that's phenomenal for one, like so incredible. And it'd be selfish of me to tell you that my actual favorite number is 24. So I got really excited when I read 24. I was like, oh my God. But I don't want to, but on a note, how do people that are listening to the potty, how do they get in contact with you, or is there a website that they can get this from?
Yeah, so you've got all my social medias you can get me on, Michael Crossland. But if you jump on my website, michaelcrossland.com, you can jump into the shop section and purchase the book. I've created a promotional code for your podcast. So if any of your listeners want to buy the book, if they type in the promotional code MOTHER, because obviously she's my rock and inspiration, that will take 35% off the cost. And I will obviously personally sign it and send it out to you as the day that the order comes through. So fingers crossed you'd like a copy. And as you know, all the profits from my book go directly to my orphanage supporting my kids in Haiti. So it's a bit of a win-win.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, everybody listening, jump on. I'll post all the links below, and then that way they can get in contact. And then Michael, like, because you are like a speaker around the world, do you personally coach people? Like, if someone was wanting to get in contact with you, is that a service that you do offer?
Yeah, so I have a very busy diary, a very tight schedule, but I do a lot of executive coaching for many different people from around the world, whether it's pro athletes and CEOs to people that are trying to start their own business, a lot of realtors at the moment, which is a lot of fun. But yeah, so I do that as well. But so if anybody's interested, let me know. But you know, I'm not here to sell. I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not trying to flog a product or a service. I just am incredibly grateful to do what I do. Yes, I've got a lot of online programs and training programs that people can get on and buy and purchase, all that sort of stuff. But you know, I just got on here because I wanted to share a little of my journey. I think you're a beautiful soul that's passionate to serve other people and make an impact. And, you know, as I said before we started recording, my focus is not about the ROI. You know, I'm not about trying to sell heaps of books through you or get lots of followers. It's about just serving as many people as I can. And I think the more that people show their authenticity and congruency and just wanting to serve mankind, then I think that's when the world starts to become a much, much better place.
Absolutely. Yes. I think you're so true. Like, I'm speechless when you come out with your powerful words, and I'm sure you've heard that time and time again. So thank you so much though for coming on and sharing with the listeners a little bit about your story and some advice on how, like, if they are feeling a little bit stuck, what they can do. And for anyone that is listening, if you would like to have Michael as a coach, because I think that you're very inspiring, and I would love to get in contact with you, I'll post all the details down below so that you guys will have access to it. So thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. Take care.
Thank you.